Wind doesn't ask permission. It tears through the valley like something alive, something angry, carrying snow so thick you can't see your own hands. The kind of cold that makes your lungs burn. The kind of storm that kills. Inside the wooden fort, the fire struggles to stay lit. Smoke curls toward the ceiling beams, and shadows dance across faces that haven't smiled in weeks. 17 colonists huddle in the main hall, listening to the storm scream against the walls. They're exhausted. Hungry, afraid of what tomorrow might bring when the supplies run out. Commander Sarah Brennan stands near the window, her breath fogging the glass. She's 34 years old, but her eyes look older, much older. Her husband died 8 months ago during a skirmish near the river crossing. She doesn't talk about it. No one asks. She wears his coat now, the one with the torn sleeve she never fixed. Her hands are raw from work, from cold, from holding herself together when everything inside wants to break. The storm has been raging for 2 days. No one can leave. No one can enter. They're sealed in by walls of snow taller than a man. That's when someone sees him. "Commander," a young man named Thomas whispers, pressing his face against the frosted glass. "There's something out there." Sarah turns, her heart already sinking. Nothing good comes in storms like this. "What do you see?" "A body, I think, near the south gate." The room goes silent. Everyone knows what's out there. Apache territory stretches for miles in every direction. For months, the tensions have been unbearable. Stolen livestock, burned wagons, rumors of attacks, counterattacks. A cycle that no one knows how to stop. Sarah grabs a lantern and pushes toward the door. 3 men follow her, wrapping scarves around their faces. The moment they step outside, the cold slams into them like a fist. The snow is waist-deep in places. The wind howls so loud they can't hear each other shout. And there, collapsed against the wooden fence, is an old man. His skin is darker than theirs. His hair, long and gray, is matted with ice. His clothes are traditional, woven and worn, soaked through. He's trembling violently, his body convulsing with fever. His eyes are closed, his lips are blue. Thomas steps back. "We should leave him." Sarah crouches down, her lantern casting a weak circle of light. The man's face is deeply lined, carved by decades of sun and wind and survival. His breathing is shallow, rattling. Pneumonia, maybe worse. Without help, he'll be dead by morning. "We can't bring him inside," another man says, his voice tight with fear. "You know what'll happen. They'll think we're harboring the enemy. They'll turn on us." Sarah doesn't answer. She's staring at the old man's hands. They're clutching something small, a woven cord wrapped around his wrist, the kind her husband used to describe, a prayer cord, a reminder of home. She thinks of her husband's last words, not about revenge, not about hate, just a whispered plea. "Don't let this make you cold." "Lift him," she says quietly. "Commander." "Now." They carry him inside through the back entrance, away from the main hall. Sarah leads them to a small storage room at the far end of the building, a space barely large enough for 2 people. There's a tiny iron stove, a pile of old blankets, and a wooden crate that serves as a table. It's cold, but it's shelter. They lay him on the floor. His body is burning with fever, but his skin is ice to the touch. His breathing sounds like something breaking. "No one can know," Sarah says, looking each man in the eye. "Not yet. Not until I figure out what to do." Thomas shakes his head. "This is insane. If they find out, then they won't find out," Sarah snaps. "Go back. Act normal. I'll handle this." The men leave, reluctant and confused. Sarah closes the door and locks it from the inside. Now it's just her and the old man and the storm. She kneels beside him, her hands shaking. She doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know why she's doing it. All she knows is that leaving him to die felt like losing something she couldn't afford to lose. Something human. She pulls off his soaked shirt and wraps him in dry blankets. His body is thin, his ribs visible beneath scarred skin. She stokes the stove until it glows red, filling the small room with fragile warmth. But it's not enough. The fever is too high, his breathing is getting worse. Sarah sits back on her heels, staring at him. She thinks of all the stories she's heard, the raids, the violence, the fear. She thinks of her husband's body, carried back on a wooden stretcher, his face covered. And yet, this man, right now, is just dying, just trembling, just human. She doesn't sleep that night. She sits beside him, feeding the fire, adjusting the blankets, wiping the sweat from his forehead with a cloth. His fever rages on. Sometimes he mutters words she doesn't understand. Sometimes he goes silent. So still she thinks he's gone. By morning, the storm hasn't stopped. If anything, it's worse. Sarah slips back into the main hall, exhausted, trying to act normal. The other colonists are restless, scared, arguing about rations. No one notices her absence. Not yet. She finds Martha, an older woman who used to work as a midwife before moving west. Martha has gentle eyes and steady hands, the kind of person who's seen too much to be shocked by anything. "I need your help," Sarah whispers, "and you can't ask questions." Martha studies her face, then nods. "Show me." They return to the storage room together. Martha kneels beside the old man, checking his pulse, his breathing, the heat radiating from his skin. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't hesitate. "Pneumonia," Martha says quietly. "Maybe infection. Hard to tell. He needs medicine we don't have. But there are things we can try." "Like what?" "Willow bark tea for the fever, warm milk with honey for his throat, steam to open his lungs, and prayer, if you believe in that sort of thing." Sarah almost laughs. She doesn't know what she believes anymore. Martha looks at her. "Why are you doing this?" "I don't know." That's not an answer. Sarah stares at the old man. "Maybe I'm tired of being afraid." Martha nods slowly. "Then let's keep him alive." They work in silence. Martha grinds willow bark into powder and boils it over the stove. The smell is sharp and bitter. Sarah heats milk in a small pot, stirring in spoonfuls of honey until it thickens. They prop the old man up, tipping small amounts of liquid into his mouth. Most of it drips down his chin, but some goes down. His body shudders with each swallow. By midday, another woman joins them. Her name is Claire, young and quiet, a widow like Sarah. She doesn't ask why, she just kneels and helps. The three of them take turns through the second day, feeding him, wiping him down, keeping the fire burning. The storm outside is relentless, but inside this tiny room something fragile is happening, something none of them expected. Claire hums while she works, an old lullaby her mother used to sing. Martha talks softly about herbs, about remedies passed down from her grandmother. Sarah says nothing, but her hands are gentle. The old man's fever breaks on the third morning. It happens slowly. His breathing steadies. The violent trembling stops. His skin cools. And then, just after dawn, his eyes open. Sarah is alone with him when it happens. She's adding wood to the stove when she feels him watching her. She turns, and their eyes meet. For a long moment, neither of them moves. He sees her face. He sees the coat she's wearing, the military collar, the silver button that marks her rank. He knows what she is, where she's from, what she represents. She sees his face, the deep lines, the grey hair, the exhaustion that goes deeper than fever. Neither of them speaks. The storm outside has finally stopped. The silence is almost louder. He tries to sit up, and Sarah moves forward instinctively, steadying him. He flinches at her touch, then stills, confused, wary. She hands him a cup of warm milk. He stares at it, then at her. Slowly he takes it. His hands are shaking. He drinks, and his eyes close with something that looks like relief. "You were dying," Sarah says quietly. "We brought you inside." He doesn't respond. She doesn't know if he understands English, but his eyes say everything. They're full of questions, full of disbelief. Martha and Claire arrive an hour later. They bring bread, dried meat, more tea. The old man eats slowly, carefully, as if afraid it might be taken away. He watches them constantly, trying to make sense of this. By afternoon, he's strong enough to sit upright. Sarah brings him his dried clothes, now clean. He dresses slowly, his movements stiff and painful. When he's finished, he sits against the wall, his eyes fixed on the small window where daylight streams through. "You should rest longer," Martha says gently. He shakes his head. He points toward the door, toward the outside. His meaning is clear. He wants to leave. He needs to leave. Sarah feels something twist in her chest. "The storm just ended. You're still weak. If you go now..." He looks at her, and she stops. There's no anger in his eyes, no hatred, just a deep, quiet understanding. He knows he can't stay. He knows what it would mean for her if others found out. Claire brings him water and a small bundle of food wrapped in cloth. He takes it, his hands lingering on hers for just a moment. A silent, "Thank you." Sarah unlocks the door. The three women walk him to the back gate, away from the main hall where the others are gathered. The snow outside is blinding white, pristine and cold. The sky is clear now, a pale winter blue. The old man pauses at the gate. He turns back to face them. For a long moment, he just looks at these three women who saved him, women who had every reason to leave him in the snow, women who risked everything for a stranger. He raises his hand, pressing it briefly to his chest, then extending it toward them. It's a gesture Sarah has never seen before, but its meaning is unmistakable. Gratitude, respect, recognition. Then he turns and walks into the snow. His footsteps are slow but steady. They watch until he disappears over the ridge, swallowed by the white horizon. The three women stand in silence. The cold bites at their faces, but none of them move. "Do you think he'll make it?" Claire asks softly. Martha nods. "He's strong, stronger than we thought." Sarah says nothing. She's thinking about her husband, about all the conversations they never had, about fear and anger and grief and what it does to people, about how easy it is to forget that the person across from you is just as tired, just as scared, just as human as you are. They return inside. Life in the fort continues. The storm is over, and soon the paths will be cleared. Supply wagons will come. Orders will arrive. The cycle will continue. But something has changed. Something small and invisible and unshakable. That night, Sarah sits by the fire in the main hall. Thomas approaches her, his face troubled. "Commander," he says quietly, "where were you these past few days?" She looks at him. "Taking care of something that needed taking care of. And the old man?" "Gone." Thomas studies her face, then nods slowly. He doesn't ask more. Maybe he doesn't want to know. Weeks later, a small group of Apaches approaches the fort under a white flag. It's rare, almost unheard of. They bring goods for trade, furs, woven blankets, dried herbs. No violence, no threats, just cautious, careful exchange. Sarah watches from the gate. Among the group is a younger man who keeps glancing at her. His eyes are familiar, though she's never seen him before. When the trading is finished and they turn to leave, he approaches her alone. He says nothing. He simply places something in her hand and walks away. Sarah looks down. It's a woven cord, the kind used for prayer, the kind she saw on the old man's wrist. She closes her fingers around it. She doesn't know what it means. Maybe it's a thank you. Maybe it's a promise. Maybe it's just a reminder that some moments can't be explained or categorized or understood. They can only be felt. That night, she ties the cord around her wrist beneath the sleeve of her husband's coat. She thinks about the 3 days in that tiny room, about warm milk and willow bark and the sound of breathing that refused to stop, about how much courage it takes to care for someone when the world tells you not to. She thinks about the old man walking into the snow, alive because 3 women refused to let fear decide for them, and she realizes something she hadn't before. Survival isn't just about strength or weapons or walls. Sometimes it's about the quiet choice to see a stranger as something more than a threat, to offer warmth when the world is freezing, to recognize that humanity doesn't stop at the borders we draw. Some encounters change what we think of the enemy. The rest of our lives shows us that he was never as distant as we believed. If stories like this one touch you, if they remind you that history is made of moments we'll never fully understand, subscribe so that memories this delicate don't disappear.